Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome into the Volquest podcast. I am Eric Kane alongside Brent Hubbs, Austin Price, and Rob Lewis. Appreciate you guys for joining us here. Big week for Tennessee football. Third Saturday in October coming up here at the end of the week. Tennessee down in Tuscaloosa. Tennessee versus Alabama. Tennessee looking to improve to 6-1, 3-1 in SEC play, and what would be, if Tennessee can win, the first victory at Alabama since 2003. Obviously, one of the bigger games in all college football, one of the bigger games across the Southeastern Conference, and that's going to be our focal point here on today's podcast. We'll touch on a little bit around the SEC here in a moment, and a little bit of Tennessee basketball as some of the preseason rankings came out earlier this week. But first, Brent, Tennessee and Alabama. Alabama's a pretty good football team. Obviously, dropped week 1 to Florida State. They've rattled off 5 straight. They've won 3 straight in conference play. Tennessee can score with the best of any of them. We know about defense, the pros and the cons. What do you make of this matchup? Tennessee and Alabama here coming up on Saturday.
Well, it's another SEC deal where you're not going to be shocked if either team wins. I think everybody's going to pick Alabama because they're at home, and Tennessee's defense has given up more yards than anybody has expected. But I think, what we're learning in the SEC is what we thought, Rob Lewis, and that's the carnage that is nothing's a given. I mean, you can look at and say, you saw Arkansas play on Saturday. They've got Texas A&M. Would that be the greatest stunner of all stunners if something happened in that game and Arkansas were to upset A&M in Fayetteville? Probably not. That's kind of the league. That's kind of college football. So this is an Alabama team that's been playing well. It's a Tennessee team that can score, but a Tennessee team that's got to play better defensively, Rob.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has any concerns about Tennessee's offense. In fact, unless you're just the most optimistic fan out there, it's way better than you probably thought, especially the quarterback and receiver in the passing game aspect of it. But, just what you've seen from the defense just doesn't inspire any confidence with them going on the road. Tennessee could win this game. Like you said, Hubbard, it wouldn't shock me, but it'll be an absolute shootout, in my opinion, if they do. It's hard for me to envision a scenario where, they don't need to score 38 or 40 if they're going to win, just based off what we've seen from the defense in 3 SEC games.
Yeah, I think, Austin, the perplexing thing about Tennessee defensively, and I think you said it best in a conversation we had, it's either really, really good or it's not very good defensively, is that you continue to hear coaches and players, say that they've got to communicate better, they've got to trust each other more back there, they simply have to execute things better. I think that's the perplexing part. Edris Farouk's not played a lot of football, okay, but Turrentine has. Jalen McMurray has. Boo Carter has. Colton Hood's the new guy, but he's played as well as anybody, and Redmond is a new guy back there. I'm a little surprised that they seem to be having this cohesive issue in the back end of the secondary at the halfway point of the season.
Yeah, I think they kind of are who they are at this point. I think there was hope that people would get some people healthy, or you would see some kids grow up. Ty Redmond outside of the Georgia game I think played pretty well out there on an island most of the year, and even in the Georgia game, some of those throws by Gunnar Stockton. You said it to me on Monday, Hubbs. He's not made any like that since. He just dropped him in a bucket that night and played fantastic. And the back end is the back end. I don't think there's help coming. Can they mask it? I think the only way you can mask it is by just bringing more pressure and trying to put opposing quarterbacks off platform to the point where you force them into bad mechanics and bad throws. I think if you're Tennessee, I think that's probably the way you've got to go and try to succeed defensively, and continue to hope that you can be opportunistic on defense and force turnovers and stall teams out and force them to kick field goals, because I think teams are going to drive the ball in Tennessee 20-20.
That's the thing. If you're not creating a couple of takeaways, you're in trouble. And it's funny, Tennessee still found a way to win on Saturday, where they had 3 takeaways, only scored 1 touchdown off those takeaways. So that was good. But look at Mississippi State. You don't win that game without those 2 defensive touchdowns, right? You don't win that game without Tennessee's defense getting out there and making stuff happen. I think as far as the zone coverage, and I don't pretend to be a football coach, trust me when I say this, but it seems like they're playing so far back sometimes. You can play up. You don't have to play up and press man, but you can play up. You don't have to back up 10 yards and play in zone off your man. Also, I mean, I see too many times, specifically on rewatch, where they just get lost in zone coverage, or they let their eyes trail. They're watching the quarterback, or they're watching and following a receiver out of your zone, and then something comes right back in and replacing it. I mean, again, sometimes that happens, right? You're never going to be perfect, but through 6 games, that's a little bit alarming. So I agree with Austin. I think you are who you are defensively. You're a team that's going to give up a lot, but you're also going to create a lot, and it's up to the offense to take advantage of that, like it's done in the past, and go and try to win football games that way. Because for as bad as the defense has looked at times, man, they are back there harassing the quarterback and taking the football away. It's up to the offense to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what all y'all are saying. I guess my point was, I'm just surprised that that you continue to hear that they're having communication issues and guys are not quote on the same page back there. They don't seem to be on the same page all the time. Given the fact that it's not like they're playing 4 freshmen back there. And I mean, the 2 newcomers are probably playing better than anybody is. That's the part that I get, that there's no help coming and you're not going to change personnel. I'm just surprised that the experienced personnel seems to be the group that is playing the poorest, I guess is the best way to say it, of anybody back there in the secondary. That's the one I didn't have on my bingo card in August, is that those 3 guys, those 3 positions would be the 3 positions that struggle: safety and the 2 safety spots and the star spot.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I mean, the star position, McMurray's flashed at times, certainly. I feel like, Rob, when Boo Carter's out there to start, he went through about a 6-quarter stretch from like UAB to, I don't know, Mississippi State, whatever game came after that, where I thought he was playing some pretty good defense. But I mean, really, for the most of the season, Boo just looks kind of lost out there in coverage, right? He's come up and made some good tackles. I'd say he's probably one of the better tacklers on this football team. Boo's kind of just been lost at times, and it's just it's just the middle of the field. Georgia against Tennessee for years, and some other teams. I mean, it's middle of the field's open, and it's halfway through the season, communication certainly has something to do with that, with those safeties, star, and linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, I think Boo certainly had some moments where. When you have a bust or mess up in open space, like it's going to happen at that position, it shows up. So I mean, it gets magnified. Yeah. a bad angle or kind of if you blow a coverage. But it's been way more than just one position. I mean, you can stats don't tell the whole story, but this halfway through the season they paint a pretty good picture. And opposing quarterbacks are completing 67% of their passes against Tennessee. I mean, there's a lot of bad passing numbers for this defense, but that's an ugly one. I mean, that's a result of soft coverage. But and Hubbard, it would be one thing that they were keeping things in front of them and dropping guys on the spot, but they are not doing that.
Not a very good tackling team, Rob.
And I don't know, and maybe that goes to the communication issue. Maybe guys are out of position. Maybe after when they're taking, because they're out of position, they're taking bad angles. But I don't know what all the numbers are. Maybe it's just perception, but it seems to me like there's a lot of yak going on in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, they're just not playing it very well. And the question is, what can they do to help it if there's not new personnel coming, Austin? Do you simplify things? Do you play? And I don't know how complicated they are back there. I mean, I think that's the part that's a little bit that we're all trying to figure out is why that it seems to be that they're having the struggles that they're having back there, kind of tying it all together.
Do they miss a vocal leader? You go back. I mean, Jalen McCullough was a vocal guy. I think that even Will Brooks could be a vocal guy. Andre Turntine's more of a reserve kid. Like, that's just not in his. It does not feel like it's in his DNA to be one that's barking out stuff. I don't think either one of the newcomers are doing that, and I don't think Idris Farouk's to a point. Do they miss that? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, maybe it's yes, maybe it's no. It's just from the outside looking in, it makes me wonder: do they miss somebody that kind of can, I mean, Arion Carter is that in the middle of the defense. I'm not sure he is that towards the back. So do they have that? Do they miss that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, the bottom line for this defense is, and this is the part that's got to be just driving all of them over there crazy, is that they're getting a bunch of teams in third and long, but teams are converting third and long as frequently as they're converting third and short against Tennessee right now, which is the most problematic stat when you look at all of them. Because, I mean, if you have 4 more third and long stops in SEC play, you're not You're not in overtime in Starkville. You've won against Georgia, and you've blown out Arkansas. I mean, or you beat them by multiple scores. I mean, it doesn't take a lot, but they're giving up way too many third and longs right now.
Yeah, and I don't think they have to go from god awful to awesome, right? They just have to be better than god awful, which is what they've been to this point in the year. I mean, like, they don't have to have like drastic improvement. Can you improve a little bit?
Yeah, if you're scoring 40 points a game in SEC play, AP, I mean, to your point, yeah, you don't have to be, one of Nick Saban's best Alabama defenses to win games. I mean, just hold teams to, 4 touchdowns.
The third and fourth down stat against a Power 4 opponents when it's 3rd and 7 or long. Brent and I wrote a story on a Saturday night. Some alarming stats in there. I mean, it's bad, man. But to your point, you're exactly right. I mean, when you're scoring at the rate that this offense is scoring, man, you don't have to be like you were last year. Like, you just need to continue doing what you're doing, sacking the quarterback, creating turnovers, and just making some more stuff, getting off the field, and trading in some more touchdowns for field goals in the red area. And that's something that Tennessee, again, going back to that story we were talking about, has not done a good enough job yet.
Well, and that's the thing when you look at it. I mean, we sit here and you spend 12 minutes on this podcast, and you put Tennessee's defense 8 feet in the ground and tamped it all down and written them completely off. Rob said it earlier. I mean, Tennessee can go absolutely win this game. They don't have to go down there and pitch some kind of crazy shutout, as you were saying, AP, to win the game. That's the fascinating part about this, is if you're just a little bit better here and there, you can go on the road and absolutely win this game on Saturday. And that's not a slight against Alabama, but that's where this conference is right now, and that's where Tennessee offensively can give you an opportunity to win every game you're in, and defensively just make a couple of more plays. And all of a sudden you're in a very different spot right now. I mean, they're a missed field goal away from being undefeated and in the top 7 nationally is where they are right now.
Well, AP, it's just one of those things to where, like, I've said it several times, you can never count Tennessee out of any ball game because of the offense and the way it's scoring. You can never, ever, as much as you want to, like, get frustrated, in my opinion, if you're a fan, and give up on Tennessee's defense, in my opinion, you can never give up on that group, because you know what they can do the next play? Sack the quarterback, force fumble, give the football back to the offense. Like it is high, it is low, but it's almost like you can't count that unit out because they've been so opportunistic defensively.
Yeah, and in watching Alabama's tackles, I thought, Wilkin Formby, the right tackle.
Yes. That's it.
He got abused a little bit against Missouri's edge the other day. I mean, I think this is a game Tennessee can get to Ty Simpson. Ty's a good enough athlete where he can avoid and make a play with his feet, but I do think that there's some opportunities there to make some plays and, that flash hard and flash bright and do those things. Can they just improve in what we were talking about? If they can improve a little bit and continue to do what they've been doing as far as their ability to get to the quarterback, then this is a Tennessee team that can absolutely go down there and put themselves in position on the road to do something they've not done since 2003.
We transition into the Alabama talk and started digging into the stats a little bit and, looking at Alabama. I mean, overall, very solid football team. This is a good football team. You look at the stat sheet, again, solid, right? But they don't run the football very well. There's been injuries there. They don't protect Ty Simpson very well. They have 13 sacks given up. They don't rush the passer very well, only 9 sacks. They don't defend the run very well defensively. There are a couple that special teams, nothing exciting about their special teams. Like, there's not a lot on the stat sheet that you point to and say elite, elite, elite. But what they do well, Brent, is they got a good quarterback. They don't turn the football over. They create takeaways, kind of like Tennessee's defense. It's a team that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And if you got a good quarterback that doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and that kind of feeds off to the rest of your team, you're going to win a lot of games. And Alabama's won 5 games in a row.
Well, and I mean, you're right. They play clean football. That's the best. I mean, that's one of the best things about what this team is doing. And I'm not selling them short in other areas, but the fact of the matter is they don't have self-inflicted wounds. They don't hurt themselves. Tennessee, we could talk about the penalty ratio and how off it was, and I think Arkansas should have been flagged for more penalties. But you look at Tennessee's 10 penalties, and there's not many of them that you look at and go, well, that wasn't a penalty. Tennessee can't afford to do that. They've got to play a cleaner blend of football on the road. You're not going to get a great whistle down there. I mean, what was it? 2 years ago, Tennessee went down there it was 8 Tennessee penalties to 1 Alabama penalty, you're probably not going to get a great whistle Saturday night. So you can't hurt yourself by playing sloppy, because you know you're not going to get a lot of breaks that way. So Tennessee has to try to match Alabama's cleanness with limiting some of the self-inflicting wounds. You don't have to play perfect, but you can't turn 3rd and 1 into 3rd and 6 in a critical situation because you jumped off sides or you had a false start. You got to do some of those things better if you're Tennessee.
Well, when you look at Alabama's defense, Tennessee ran for 264 against an Arkansas defense that was atrocious, not very good at all. But you look at an Alabama defense that allows, 156 yards on the ground. Are you confident that Tennessee's run game can get back to where it needs to be and Tennessee can run the football effectively in this game, where the first 3 years Tennessee just couldn't run it against Alabama? I think they broke through a couple years ago, but you confident that Tennessee can run the football in this defense?
I mean, confident, and I wouldn't maybe go bet the house on it, but based off what we've seen from Alabama and how Tennessee looked Saturday, I don't know that they're going to go for 260 like they did against Arkansas, but I think they'll have success there enough to keep it certainly in manageable down and distance situations. And to me, I mean, you got to worry about Tennessee's secondary in this matchup, obviously, but I like the line of scrimmage, aspect of this. I mean, Tennessee's not been as good against the run as they were last year, not even close, but the problems haven't been as bad in the front seven as they have the back end. And Alabama, for as good as they've looked since that Florida State loss, the lines of scrimmage are not what they were. These aren't Nick Saban lines of scrimmage. I mean, they're like bottom third of the league in rushing offense, bottom third in the league in rushing defense, and that's not just because they're pass heavy. They're averaging less than 4 yards a carry, and they're just not as nasty up front as they used to be. I think it goes without saying Tennessee's going to have a lot of success on the ground, and I like the matchup Tennessee's from what we've seen of Tennessee's ground game and what we've seen from Alabama and Georgia in the second half. If they had gotten off to a better start, Georgia could really control the line of scrimmage in the second half. Ran for over 200 against Bama, but just kind of were doomed by that start. And obviously Tennessee can't get off to a start like that on the road, or you can't run the ball.
Yeah, I think the running backs are a big storyline in this game. Josh Heupel saying on Monday he thinks that Deshaun Bishop will be able to go. Now we'll see what that looks like as the week progresses. Jim Miller's the best running back for Alabama. He's kind of their bruiser, heavy guy. He's dealing with a concussion. Where is he at? Is he going to be able to go? I mean, both of those potential injuries can dictate a lot about the run game for both of these teams on Saturday. I mean, no offense to Peyton Lewis and Star Thomas, but I mean, I think Deshaun Bishop, had separated himself in the preseason. And I think the last 2 games, Deshaun Bishop has played the best of any of Tennessee's tailbacks. So I think getting him back would be huge for Tennessee. If they don't have him, then you're really going to have somebody step up in that position. And Alabama's run game has lacked some rhythm, in my opinion, in large part because Jam Miller has not been able to play most of the year.
Agreed.
No, he's not. Well, he missed the first 3 games, got injured this last game, so he's played parts of about 3.5 games or whatever. And they've got Richard Young, Kevin Riley. They like to throw it to him out of the backfield. Daniel Hill is kind of their bigger back. Again, Braylon Russell last week, Fluff Bothwell a couple weeks ago. Daniel Hill's at 6'1", 245, so he's kind of the bigger option as well. They like to utilize their running backs in the pass game, but outside of Jam Miller, there's really not been consistent run game for Alabama. And again, Ty Simpson's throwing the crap out of the football, right? He's got Jeremy Bernard, who's one of the best wide receivers in the conference. Ryan Williams, who's got a high upside. Isaiah Horton, who came over from Miami. They like the tight end as well. But I agree with you. I think the run game could be a big focal point in this game, especially if Tennessee has Deshaun Bishop, whereas Alabama really just not been consistent with it all year long.
No, they haven't. The offensive lines, again, they get a lot of praise because Proctor's been so highly thought of and stuff. But, I mean, they're not what they were heck 4 or 5 years ago. I do love the receivers a lot. I really like Jeremy Bernard. I think he's fantastic. Horton is old steady, old reliable for Ty Simpson. Those two played on Tennessee Select 7-on-7 together. So there's a camaraderie there. And then, of course, Ryan Williams, what's he at health-wise? I mean, he played, a little over 30 snaps the other day against Missouri, but has still been, banged up for a good chunk. So, I think the receivers in this game are pivotal for Alabama because I just don't know if they can have the same type of success other teams have had. Maybe they can. Maybe Tennessee's, what's the old Coach Saban line when run them, 10 horn or whatever. I mean, like he said in that press conference years ago. I think if I'm Tennessee, I'm more worried about the trio of receivers than I am the tailbacks.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, again, all those three guys could play in the National Football League one day. And again, you look at Tennessee's pass defense and the chunk plays in the fourth quarter on one drive, giving up pass play 20 yards and 30 yards in one drive. That would be worrisome as well. Again, that's why you want to get your front four after Ty Simpson, make him uncomfortable, do anything you can to kind of mess with his mojo. Because again, he's turned the football over one time this year. It was a pick against Vanderbilt. Alabama fumbled once last week, and those are the only two turnovers, Rob, that Alabama's had offensively. Again, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's a team, again, that I don't think is elite anywhere, but I think they play mistake-free almost. I mean, they take care of the football, and they don't make mistakes, and they play smart. And they've got good players, right? And they got a quarterback that makes it all go. I think that the key for Tennessee's defense is to, you're not going to stop Ty Simpson, but slow him down, force him into bad positions, knock him down a little bit, make that clock go a little bit faster in his head, and then see what happens from there.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Alabama. I think they're well coached, and I think that they're mentally tough because I don't know that anybody in the country, maybe Texas, dealt with as much outside noise as they did. After that first weekend, and losing to Florida State, coming off a 2-10 season or whatever, isn't exactly like losing on the road at Ohio State. So, I mean, to see the way they bounced back and winning on the road at Georgia, on the road at Missouri, I think we can all agree. I mean, we've seen how tough it is to win on the road in this league. So that tells me something about this squad. As much as the lack of turnovers and not beating themselves, winning those two road games and just kind of bouncing back after everybody, and all the outside noise, the negativity that they were dealing with. I think that's a pretty strong comment about DeBoer and what they've done. But I'm with you. I mean, I think they're vulnerable. EC. I mean, they're not world beaters. They just, but they're gritty. And again, those road wins at Athens and Missouri, say a lot to me about this team. I mean, Tennessee's going to have to go down and take it. They will have to make some plays. But yeah, I mean, that's this team's identity.
Yeah, no doubt. Brent, before we move on, number one key for Tennessee to get off to a good start in this football game, because again, this has been a good starting football team, both offensively and really defensively up until the Arkansas game for the defense.
Well, you got to get off the field. I mean, you got to get off the field when it's third down and you've got an opportunity. Mississippi State, they did that, and the special teams rewarded them with a turnover and dropping the punt would set them up. But that's exactly the start you wanted at Mississippi State. And then you go back to this past week against Arkansas, they convert a fourth down on their opening drive. Tennessee gets the early sack, gets them backed up in a hole, and you're looking for, all right, let's do a great start here, get out of the gates and get this thing going. And Tennessee doesn't take advantage of that negative play to start the game and lets Arkansas, back out of the hole. And they go from 2nd and 13 and convert a 4th and inches. And I mean, some of those things happen, but I just think that for Tennessee, it's, capitalizing on the opportunities. They didn't capitalize enough of that. You look at that second drive Arkansas has. You forced the turnover there, and Tennessee goes 3 and out. I mean, they didn't even get a field goal out of that, and they started basically at midfield after that turnover. So Tennessee's just got to capitalize on any early opportunities that go about, and don't make a silly mistake. I mean, Missouri's got a chance to get off the field with a 7-0 lead in that game on Saturday because they jumped out on a great drive to open the game and scored 7 points. They've got Alabama backed up, and then they get an unsportsmanlike call that gives Alabama a first down, and they take and run with it and score there. Just don't help them. I mean, don't help them with a bust on 3rd and 12. Don't help them with a penalty that gives them a first down. Those types of things. Just play smarter. Play cleaner, particularly out of the gates. Settle into the football game and hopefully get them a little bit uncomfortable in some way.
What do we think? The linebacker play has been kind of outside of Arion. No Evan Spillman in the first half of this game. Do we think that this is more? Where do we think they go there? I mean, it was interesting that Jaden Perlotti got 9 snaps the other night, considering that Jaden Harmon got all the run early, played against Georgia, and then the last 2 weeks has not been seen outside of walking up the tunnel the other night, leaving the stadium. So, what do we think they do there?
I mean, given the history of this defensive staff, I think it's about trust, and I think their trust lies with Ben Bolton before it lies with the freshman. That's what that's what I think, that if they're going to go off the trust factor of it. But they're going to have to play multiple guys. I mean, you're going to have to stick some guys out there. I mean, I don't know how many times Jaden Perlardi goes the wrong way or the right way, but I know wherever he's going, he gets there very, very quickly.
Yes.
And I think getting there quickly is important. So how much does he grow and develop this week? I mean, what are they? I mean, you mentioned throwing to the backside of the backfield. I mean, listen, if you're going to game plan against Tennessee, middle of the field and stress the linebacker sideline to sideline in coverage is where you're going. That's what you're going to try to do. You're going to try to see what kind of bust you can get out of the back seven for Tennessee. So I don't know where they're going to go, AP. My guess is probably first they'll go towards Bolton because they seem to have more trust there than they have with other people right now.
Hey, everybody, and man, last week was fun, right? Bye weeks are not fun. Getting back into action is going to be fun, like Tennessee did against Arkansas. And, of course, this week, third Saturday in October, is going to be a blast. On 3, thrilled to be teaming up with the great people over at BetMGM this season. When you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and so much more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code ON3, and you're going to get up to $1,500 in first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here is how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code ON3. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code ON3 when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms 21 plus or older. Only. U.S. promotion offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in U.S. Call 1-800-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369-NY. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP AZ 1-800-327-5050-MA 1-800-BETS-OFF-IA 1-800-981-0023-PR. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code ON3 and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Big shout out to our friends over at BetMGM. And I want to give a shout out to BRUNT as well. BRUNT workwear, fantastic. I've used it. I can personally vouch for it. I hope you can as well. Choosing work boots used to be meaning sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last. And if they lasted, they wrecked your feet. But BRUNT thought that was BS. So they built tough boots that feel great from day one. No break-in, no sore feet, because people out there doing real work, on weekends I do real work, but real work every day of the week, right? Shouldn't have to choose between comfort and durability. BRUNT stands behind what they make. You can wear them to work. If they're not right for you, send them back. I don't know if any other brand that does that. That's a company that believes in their product. I wore, they sent me some and fantastic. I wore them out to do some yard work over the bye week on Saturday. That Sunday, we went to the pumpkin patch as a family. I wore those, so comfortable. Got a lot of compliments as well on my BRUNT boots. It was fantastic. Check it all out today. BRUNT was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots and that don't hold up. So they built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. For a limited time, our listeners are going to get $10 off at BRUNT when you use the promo code VQ at checkout. That's promo code VQ at checkout. Just head on over to bruntworkwear.com, promo code VQ, and you're good to go. And after you order, they're going to ask you where you heard about BRUNT. Do us a favor and tell them that you heard about it from this show. I think it'll be a little bit of Ben Bolton. Jordan Burns got 2 snaps. Of course, he played 11 snaps against Mississippi State. And then Jaden Perlardi had 9 snaps. I think it'll be a little bit of a combination of all 3 of those guys. I don't think any of those 3 guys are going to play like, the snap volume that an Edwin Spillman would play on a specific drive or maybe a specific quarter or whatever. I don't know. It's unfortunate Tennessee's not going to have Spillman. Spillman did not play well against Arkansas, and of course he had the targeting. But I have no clue about linebacker because that has been the biggest rotation question mark all year long. It's kind of funny.
Well, I mean, what's interesting about this matchup when we're talking about all this, I mean, for Alabama, this will be the best offense that they have played against. in the best quarterback play that they've gotten to this point. In terms of a team going vertically down the field and all the things that they do, Tennessee's doing that better than anybody they've played to this point. Conversely, for Tennessee's defense, this is the best quarterback they've played. Now Green's a different quarterback, but in terms of throwing the ball, this is the best quarterback Tennessee's played against. So, I mean, that's why I think, Rob, you were talking earlier, like you're going to have to score a lot of points because it's hard to see Tennessee defensively slowing down the best offensive playmaker or the best offensive thrower that they played against all year long with where their secondary play is. But you think you got a chance because this is the best offense an Alabama defense has had to try to stop, and it's not an Alabama defense that's lighting up the stat sheet in every category.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's imperative. I mean, Captain Obvious voice, but I think it's imperative that Tennessee be able to stay two-dimensional and balanced. And I mean, I think that you got reason to be optimistic they can because of Alabama's just not been awesome at shutting down the run against quality competition. And I clearly goes without saying Tennessee is clearly at its best when they're keeping the chains in favorable situations. That brings tempo into play. It brings play action into play. And with the way Joey is pushing the ball downfield, I mean, that puts some bite into your play action. And this offense, I mean, chunk plays are crucial.
Well, here's another thing, Eric, and quickly, I know we're moving on here, but here's another interesting side to this. I mean, Tennessee prepared for 4 defenses last week because they didn't know what they were going to get against Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas changed their defense at the half to a large degree. But this will be basically the third game where they played 3 down front. They played an odd front. How much more comfortable is Tennessee against that, having played it a couple of times? They obviously ran it much better against Arkansas than they did against Mississippi State, although they ran it better against State late. How much more comfortable is Tennessee in being two-dimensional against this defense that they have seen for multiple weeks now in terms of an odd front?
Yeah, that's a good point. And Georgia ran it didn't run it much, but Georgia showed it for about 4 or 5 plays as well. So, I mean, they've seen it a couple different times this year, so you would think that the more you see it, the more you rep against it and have success against it, the better it is moving forward. So it's a good point. Last thing on this, we say it all the time. This is one of those big games, right? Big moments in big games. They need to run Joey, and they pick their spots. The touchdown run to tie it up at Mississippi State, late in the fourth quarter against Arkansas. I mean, they've done it a couple. First touchdown against Georgia. Need to call some design runs for him in those spots. I'm not saying go out there and make him a Diego Pavia part of the offense running the football. He also needs to slide and try to avoid some contact, but I would run Joey Aguilar in this football game. I think his legs need to be a factor in some of these situations. Look around the SEC, some of the scores. Ole Miss escapes Washington State. LSU beat South Carolina. What a snoozer both of those teams are this season after all the preseason hype. Georgia, Auburn, officiating was a part of that football game. Texas, Arch Manning comes back a little bit. You have Mateer that returns, and I think he's a heck of a player. But, I mean, in what world did anybody think 17 days post-op, breaking his thumb or whatever on his throwing hand, that he was going to be a factor in this football game? I know he played. I know he started. I know he threw for 200 yards. Brent, he threw 3 interceptions. Every time I flipped it over, he looked like a guy that just didn't have it. And, again, he's 7 days post-op. That's the biggest mind-blowing. It's like, what do you expect, right? Mateer's a good player. He did not play well in that Texas game, and Texas got a little bit of momentum back and feeling a little bit better about themselves after being unranked the week before.
Well, and that's this league, right, Rob?
Yep.
I mean, that's this league in a nutshell. Just when you're ready to write somebody off or you're ready to anoint somebody, and maybe it's college football in general, but certainly in this league, I mean, you better stay away from the hot takes of this team's playoff bound or this team. I mean, think about the Alabama storyline. Rob, you mentioned this earlier, and the toughness of Kalen Board. I mean, there was a story written about donors upset, and there's buyout talk for Kalen DeBoer after week 1. And now they've won 5 in a row, and they're thought as a playoff team. That's the craziness. I mean, Texas was dead in the water. They're back alive. Florida was done. Then they got a little bit of life. Now maybe they're done again. I mean, it's certainly just a week-to-week massive carnage that changes the narrative every week.
I mean, look at Georgia. If the refs don't blow that call and it's 17. I mean, if that game's 17-0 going into halftime at Auburn, that's a totally different football game. So, I mean, if that's a touchdown and Tennessee hits a field goal at the end of regulation, Georgia's 2 whistles away from being 0-3 in the SEC and just cooked. I mean, the margins are crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned, I'm sorry, AP, but I wouldn't be stunned if Arkansas up and beat Texas A&M this weekend. I mean, I'm not going to predict it, but nobody would be like, "Oh my God, that's incredible."
Well, I mean, especially when like A&M's offense isn't like world beaters, right? And Arkansas can put up points. So
I think that's the biggest thing is what Rob just hit on is like the fans are struggling to adapt to this being more and more like the NFL. Like every week, if you win by 3 or 33, I'm glad you won. You don't think Penn State would like to have won the last couple of games? You don't think Penn State would have liked to have won by 3? And maybe the higher ups at Penn State didn't because they gave them a reason. But, I mean, I just think that that's going to be how it is. It's going to feel more like the NFL. This league going through it unscathed used to be unheard of. Going through it with 1 loss is going to be unheard of in a lot of ways. I think you're looking at, a good. There's a really good chance that this league has every team with at least 2 losses after Atlanta, maybe even before Atlanta.
And hey, and next year you're only just adding to another game to it.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying. And it's just, and look, it makes for great game watching, great TV. I mean, yeah, maybe there's some snoozer games that are not really exciting, but they're close games. There's just not a lot of blowouts. There's just not a lot of, hey, that game's over type deal. Seemingly. And so, I mean, we'll see. I mean, maybe this week is the week of the blowout. Maybe somebody doesn't show up because it catches up to them. They played multiple weeks in a row against top 10 teams or whatever. But, man, everybody's just sort of shown up every week, and every game's been going into the fourth quarter is a real football game.
Man, go ahead, Eddie.
I think where this is headed is, like right now, everybody's like 9 conference games and the +1. I think where this is headed is they're going to ditch the +1. I think that's where this is headed. Unless TV the contract dictates it, I think they're going to ditch the +1 because I think you're going to find out that, like, when you look around, Virginia's playing the 4 of us, from here to the house, and same thing with Georgia Tech, and then just like Indiana was last year. Don't get me wrong, Indiana had proved big win over the weekend. That's great for them, but like these teams that are playing pedestrian schedules while everybody else just beats and bangs around on each other, I think you're going to see the SEC go, wait a minute, if we're going to play 9, then we're not going to make our institutions play that +1. That's my take.
And I would just put just one more big picture SEC take, and I'm an admitted SEC homer big time, but that Auburn-Georgia game is the reason that the SEC is – I mean, the Big Ten does not stack up. But can you imagine a winless Big Ten team, Michigan State, Purdue, being on the goal line with a chance to go up 17-0 on Ohio State at halftime? I mean, just maybe in some universe that happens, but I don't. Not for me. I don't accept. That's the difference. Hey. A bottom feeder in the Big Ten could not be in that position against Ohio State.
Was it just me, or did I? And maybe Brent and Rob may not get the reference, and Eric may not either. It felt like Kirby Smart was trying to go full Zach Morris and call the timeout where everybody just freezes. They're in the second half of that fourth quarter of that game. Hey, timeout! I'm clapping, guys. I'm clapping.
Well, it's funny that was like the 8th most bizarre thing that happened in that game. So like, it's just what a weird one. What a weird one for sure. Look at the slate for this weekend. Rob and I were talking over the facility earlier this week. Like, can you? And we understand why it's this way, but can you believe Vanderbilt is a favorite over LSU? Like, it's insane to think about. But say what?
Because LSU can't score.
Oh, I know. We know why, but it's just like it's still mind-boggling to think like Vanderbilt is what universe is Vanderbilt a favorite over LSU?
And Vandy's scoring 40+ a game.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, Vanderbilt's a good football team. I mean, they're solid. I mean, they. I mean, I know that ended up being a 2-score game, but I mean, they gave Alabama all they wanted in Tuscaloosa, and all of us assumed that would be just a beat down because of everything that was said leading up to that game and what happened a year before. And again, that goes back to the depth of this league and what Rob was saying earlier is just, I mean, you got to strap it up tight every week. The days of Tennessee rolling to Columbia, South Carolina, and you're not worried about losing the game, those are long gone. The depth of this league is at a place that it hasn't been at in a long, long time. Now, Kentucky, Kentucky's struggling. I don't think they can give Texas any kind of fits this weekend. But think about that Florida Mississippi State game. Billy Napier has to win that football game.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That will be the final nail if he does.
Right. If Mississippi State's going to go bowling, and they got off to a 4-0 start, if they're going to go bowling, they probably have to try to steal this one on the road when you look at the rest of their schedule. That's where you're at on October the 18th with two teams that, in a lot of people's minds, are a bit afterthoughts in this league right now, but they've shown up. Florida's in a 7-point game in the fourth quarter. And then Billy Napier inexplicably goes for it on 4th and 6 and basically ends that game with 13 minutes to go. But, they're there on the road and against Texas A&M. So that's just, again, that's the beauty of this league. It's the carnage of this league. It's what is going to give fans heart palpitations each Saturday in this league, and that's why everybody loves this league. That if you're a fan of this league, you're completely biased that this league is not even comparable to anybody else in the country.
Yeah, look at the slate this weekend. Ole Miss, Georgia. I think A&M and Arkansas can be really good. I think Oklahoma can dispose of South Carolina, even if Mateer's not playing well. LSU, Vanderbilt can win that game. We just talked about Mississippi, Florida. The what's at stake in that one. Kentucky, Texas will suck. There's another one that I missed. Missouri and Auburn. Either one of those teams can win that football game. That should be a really good football game.
If you would think about it, this is a game, especially with it on the plains. You talk about getting rid of Billy. If Auburn were to lose to Missouri, that's something all of a sudden you could see a change made at Auburn. Because they can't get over the hump even against somebody like Missouri. The game early in that docket, Vanderbilt plays LSU at noon, which is 11 a.m. on the Bayou. We've seen that before. So that's why you add into the fact that it's not night. And I do think Oklahoma gets a break playing South Carolina at 12:45. Get Spaceship Odyssey and all that stuff going over there late at night and their cock-a-doodle-doing and all that. It's a different feel over there on the fairgrounds at 7:45 than it is at 12:45. And I think it's a huge win for Oklahoma because I do think South Carolina is that one team that's just good enough to play spoiler to somebody over the next 4 games. I don't know who it is. I've said that for the last couple of weeks.
Well, you're playing. Obviously, they're playing in Nashville for the LSU game there, and it's early for both of those teams. So, night games in this league are hard. Night games are just different for everybody wherever you're playing at, and that's why it's advantage Alabama because this is a night game. What's crazy to me is everybody talks about scheduling, and they talk about Florida's brutal schedule, and it's brutal. Look at who Auburn has played, Rob. That schedule that Auburn has had, top 10, Oklahoma was in the top 10 at the time, A&M, Georgia, now Missouri. That is a rough road to go to open SEC play for the Auburn Tigers.
But with few exceptions, maybe Missouri, maybe South Carolina. But you can point it's that way for a lot of people. Tennessee, I think, has caught a little bit of a break. Mississippi State and Arkansas, a lot of people would have taken that. But you could just cherry pick, a lot of schedules in this league.
Watch this. Hey, Megan, if you would put Oklahoma's schedule.
I was going to say the back end of Oklahoma's schedule.
Theirs is gross.
This one is insane.
That's the one I was getting ready to reference that. The back end of Oklahoma is crazy.
It's a little bit easier right now, Rob. You think, right? Because LSU's down, South Carolina is not, what anybody thought. But Ole Miss, good football team. Tennessee, Alabama, Mizzou's pretty good football team. You've already played Auburn. You already played Texas. That schedule is brutal.
Yeah, Tennessee's will be a year from now. Sorry. Look at next year. Tennessee's home schedule, which for fans is going to be unbelievable. LSU, Auburn, Alabama, Texas, all at home. You go to Texas A&M. That's 5 massive games, on that schedule, which goes back to Hubs' point from earlier. They're cannibalizing themselves, which goes back to my point. They'll eventually do away with the plus one.
Yeah, they're also going to go to expanded playoffs.
Yes.
More teams.
They have to.
More teams are going to are going to. I don't know when that decision is going to come down or what they're going to do, but that's
they got to decide something by December the 1st, right?
Yeah, but they're going to. Yeah. They're going to have. Because you're sitting there looking at it. The ACC, who when you saw Clemson losing, you saw Florida State losing. You're like, okay, well now Georgia Tech, they don't. They play a team in Georgia at the end. Okay, everything else they're going to be favored to win. Virginia is going to be favored to win everybody else they've got left to play, I think, at this point. So if you're the SEC, you can't just everybody can't be 9-3, 10-2, and you think you're going to get everybody that's at 10-2 in the playoff. I mean, there are going to be some SEC teams that are going to be left out at 10-2, and you'd have thought, well, 10-2 gets you in. It's like, no, it's probably not going to happen. Which is Austin's point about cannibalizing themselves, which is why the playoffs are going to get expanded.
Any given Saturday, that's why it's the best league out there and why it's the best time of the year. Any given Saturday, anything can happen. Tennessee and Alabama, we will continue to preview that all week long. Real quick before we go, Rob Lewis, talk about the scrimmage. Sorry, I just did a talk about. That's not really good journalistic behavior there. Can you speak on the Tennessee scrimmage earlier this week, last weekend, the open scrimmage, what you saw, what you like, what you've been hearing, and then obviously Tennessee 18 in the AP and pick number 3 in the SEC?
Yeah, I mean, more than just the scrimmage. I mean, we've had a chance to see a couple of preseason practices now, and you're getting a little more sense of what they are. And I really like this team. I think preseason polls mean. I mean, they haven't meant much in college basketball for a long time. I mean, go back to the one Rick's second or third team here that was picked 13th in the SEC and, won the regular season title. So I think with all the movement, that means less than ever. On the SEC front, I've been saying for a while I expect Tennessee to contend for the championship. They were picked third behind Florida, Kentucky, which, I think is about right. 18th in the country. I'm not going to pretend to know what the Big Ten looks like or ACC right now with all the transfers out there. But to me, I mean, Tennessee looks I know they've got a lot of pieces and have to prove it. They look as good as they have the last couple of years. I would expect the same kind of, the same kind of success. I'll be really surprised if they're not one of the top teams in the SEC. One of the top teams really, they look like a top 10 team to me. And as far as the scrimmage, the couple practices that we've seen, Jacoby Gillespie has been fantastic. It sounds crazy to say it, but I've written it on the board. I mean, I think Tennessee may have upgraded that point guard, and that is not a knock on Zakai Ziegler, who you're not going to find a bigger fan of than me. Jacoby's just, he's a little bigger. He's a little more athletic. I think he shoots it better. And he's a different kind of point guard, more of a score first guy, but he's got all kinds of potential. Nate Ament, the hyperbole is going to be off the charts, but he's a freshman. Some nights, he's going to drift. He's not going to have it, and that's the nature of the beast with an 18, 19-year-old kid. But a lot of nights, he's going to be the best player on the floor. And I like the way this team's built. I think they're super long. I think one of the underrated aspects of it, I'm not sure how much he really flashed, when people saw in the scrimmage the other day, but Jalen Carey going to be a huge part of this team. Coach Barnes loves what he's bringing to the table, the low post presence that they just haven't had, a couple of years. Rick told me last week that he was watching tape, from last year earlier, a couple of weeks ago. Just there were 2 or 3 games in a row where they didn't even, try to post anybody up inside. And that's going to be a much different dimension. Getting JP back, Estrella is going to be a big deal that, I'm not sure that people outside of Knoxville that don't follow this team closely really appreciate what he can add when he's healthy. So, a lot of unknowns with the new faces, but I think just a lot of potential, and I would expect it to be another really exciting basketball season.
It's going to be a tougher basketball team. Not to say that, Tennessee was weak last year, but is this going to be a little bit more of a tougher brand of basketball? I
think it's going to be more physical. I mean, you're not going to play for this guy if you're not tough-minded. But I think the low post presence that Carey is going to bring down there is going to be noticeably different. And, having, JP's not, I wouldn't call him a banger, but I mean, he's not shy about throwing his weight around. And, he's a 6'11" guy that wasn't on the roster last year. And Felix is not, he doesn't look like a tight end out there, but Felix has added, 15, 20 pounds and is noticeably thicker. He's a more physical guy. So, yeah, I think that you'll really notice a difference in the post and probably on the boards as well, but definitely offensively, it's just going to be a much different feel.
Well, it's happening right now at Volquest.com. Preseason basketball, a lot of conversation there. Recruiting never stops. Fall baseball happening. Of course, Tennessee football rolls on. It is the 3rd Saturday in October coming up into this week, Tennessee and Alabama. We'll have you covered all week long during kickoff, all the reaction you could possibly want over at Volquest.com. Take advantage of everything that's happening right now. by joining our site. $1 for your first 7 days. $1 for your first 7 days at Volquest.com. Come check us out on the General's Quarters. If you like it, stick around. That's awesome. If not, you're just out $1. No big deal at all. So $1 for 7 days at Volquest.com. For Brent Hubbs, Austin Price, Rob Lewis, I'm Eric Kane. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Tuesday morning Volquest podcast.